Today we have another amazing guest. I've actually been following this guy for quite a while. Him and I have quite a bit in common. I think we're going to dig into that here in this episode. Before we get too deep into who you are and what you do, Wes, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for the audience who doesn't know you, in a quick snapshot, give us a brief explanation of who you are and what you do.
How dare they not know who I am, man? What kind of show are you running? What, do you allow that to happen, man?
I am against it heavily, but you know, people are people.
Oh, man. What can I say? Former Air Force, father of 7, jiu-jitsu black belt. I've written a couple books, podcasting for, 13 years, published about 800 episodes. Been doing sales training for 20 years. Bought my URL in 2006, and been doing it ever since, helping small, medium businesses sell mo better.
Perfect. All right, so let's start here, and this kind of has a unique attachment to me right now today. My brother-in-law just made a very, what I would say, out-the-box decision to join the Air Force. It was not anything that we anticipated in his future. He was one of those 22-year-old young men who had all the potential in the world but wasn't doing anything with it. We in the house were kind of like, what is he going to do with his life? Is he going to make anything of himself? And then out of the blue, without asking, without consulting, he said, I'm joining the Air Force. So he went from Virginia, came down here to Texas. I'm in Texas. Joined the Air Force, and just 2 weeks ago, he graduated. I guess, what basic training or whatever that first stage is.
In San Antonio?
He was in San Antonio, yes, sir. And so he just graduated there, is now moving into class, which is going to be just in Wichita Falls here at the base in Wichita Falls. And he's got maybe another couple of months before he's get done with this school, and then he's going to be full-time in South Carolina, it seems like. Now, for me, it was something I was nervous about with just kind of what our country's going through today, right now. Like, just when he joined is kind of the same alignment of when we got into this, thing with Iran going on right now. Not to be political in any way, but the amount of change I saw from him in that small period of time, growing to be a young man to being a man with roles and responsibilities, I can foresee it changed his life. What role did joining the Air Force play in your life? And was your entrance into the Air Force a similar story to that, or were you always knew military was going to be in your path?
Well, the military whips most people into shape, and I was an assistant training instructor. They call them TIs in the Air Force. I did that, years ago. But, I went a different route. I was recruited for football, played at the Air Force Academy. And, if you can make it through those 4 years, you're commissioned as an officer, and you owe them at least 5 years. So a little different path. But, no, I didn't know. My dad, he was drafted in the Army during Vietnam. Did 3 years, whatever the minimum was, and got out. And so, no, I didn't. It wasn't part of my future. It wasn't some grand plan. My family didn't have money, and I had good grades, and I was good at football, and so I got recruited.
Gotcha.
And I got in, and and look, if you're in time of war, it's probably best to be in the Air Force.
Yeah.
We only, for the most part, there's pararescue, PJs and stuff, and there's combat controllers. But, for the most part, we send our officers into battle, right? Send them up in the planes. And so, but, I was deployed to the Middle East a couple of times, but it was the UAE. I wasn't in any kind of real danger, but, there's always danger, I guess. But it's not like you're at the front lines. I was stationed in Korea. The base was nice. I knew guys. My cousin was a Marine. He came to stay with me for like a weekend. He was stationed, I think, at Okinawa, doing some drills out there, and he was amazed at how I lived. He was an enlisted Marine, and I was an officer in the Air Force. It was, I'm living in like a studio apartment. I got a maid, doing my laundry, shining my boots. So, it's he'll be fine. And certainly if he's staying stateside, he's gonna find himself. He's gonna get a good education, good experience, and he'll be able to apply that, for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and that's his whole purpose behind doing it is he knew he would be valued by the structure of this. I mean, look, to be honest, I didn't know if he's going to make it through the basic training. I mean, that's just the type of young man he was. He didn't have a lot of delivery and see-through, but
look, I haven't been part of it in a long time. I mean, basic training at the Air Force Academy was pretty tough, and we're doing it at 7,000 feet. So, the air is rare, and it was physically demanding. I was an instructor for 6 weeks down at Lackland. And granted, it was a long time ago. It was 1990. But it was not that physically challenging. They call us the chair force, and, I mean, there's some truth to it. So he better have made it through that.
He did. He made it. And look, I mean, interacting with him, like we were there for his graduation. We were there during that, like, medal ceremony, and then we get to spend the next couple of days with him as well. And man, he was already like military one-on-one. He was like, I've got my blues on. I can't cross the street without this. I got to represent. He was, completely by the rules and by the book. It's just interesting to see that. And that kind of transitions into, for me, I believe one of the most not discuss things for successful salespeople is the ability to be structured, disciplined, have a process that you then execute that. I think a lot of times people who don't really do sales, they think of salespeople as these like slick talking, smooth guys who just kind of get out there and say what they want to say. Do you see the structure fall in line with kind of how you teach, train, and develop people in sales as well? Or, I mean, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the best salespeople are usually like the best put together people you'll ever meet. You got to juggle a lot of things, right? It's you're juggling uncertainty. Rarely are you just welcomed into some place with open arms. So you've got to figure out a way in. You've got to figure out a way up. You've got to figure out a way to land and expand. You have to, get support from your boss, from your boss's boss. You got to get support from operations, from marketing, everything across the board. And to bring these deals in, you got to work with finance. Sometimes you got to structure deals. You have to negotiate. And so there's a big misnomer about salespeople because it's earned, it is easy to get into sales, right?
Yep.
You don't need a degree. Most people fall back into sales,
Yep.
And it was not their first choice. And so as a result, you do get some shady people that do some shady things, so they give it a bad name. But the good salespeople, and the nice thing about selling is that we know who the best are. Mm. Okay? If I ask you, who's the best basketball player? Okay, well, people, they want to debate Michael Jordan or LeBron or, whatever. Who's the best center? Who's the best, artist? Oh, Michelangelo, Picasso. I mean, it's so subjective, right? Who's the best, heavy metal guitarist from the 80s? How do you measure that? Oh, album sales. Like, really? Did he write all the music? So, but in sales, we know who the best is. So I'm like, who's the best, AC salesman in South Carolina for the last 5 years? I mean, somebody's got the metrics.
Sure.
Somebody's got those numbers.
Yeah.
And so as a result, we've known those numbers for generations. And so salespeople have been studied. They have been tested. And so we know what a good salesperson is typically what they're made of. Okay, how do they process information? How do they make decisions? How do they communicate? We know that. It's been measured. And so, great salespeople. I mean, look, the last time I looked this up, and it's been a minute, but I think it still holds true that, sales is like certainly a top 5 earning career.
Sure.
And last time I saw it was like number 2 behind like orthopedic surgeons. Okay, so where else can you make this much money? by just showing up and doing the right things over and over and over again. You know, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, I would probably fall way more into the category of fell into sales instead of chose sales. Now, for me, I was the average student in high school, had zero plans to go to college, didn't have a lot of interest outside of sports growing up, and sales was an opportunity for me to leverage my athletic, competitive nature. Always was fairly natural talker in that sense, and I was always somebody who enjoyed an argument, a debate, and it translated really well for me. I started off in collections actually for the first 5 or 6 years, and man, it's something just did become natural to me. I was almost immediately in every sales role I've been in, I've been a top performer right out the gate. But that real transition for me was not how I was as an individual contributor, but it was that transition into leading and developing other people that was a challenge for me. And what I've found is the most naturally talented salespeople, just like in sports, don't necessarily translate to the best leaders, the best developers. And because we don't know how to then systemize what makes us uniquely special, it's something that comes natural. Did you find a similar pathway for you as you transitioned from, I would assume, being a seller to then leading teams? Was that a natural progression for you to step into leadership, or was that a thing that you kind of had to figure out as you went and create a system like I did?
Hey, I think we had a glitch there. Yeah, it was hard. I was naturally good at sales. I fell into a good training system. I applied it, and I was a top performer. Now, I brought some things to the table that my peers didn't at the time. You know, I was a little bit older, having the officer experience in the Air Force. I was married. I had kids. I was motivated, right? But I knew I would be a hard manager. Because I just demand a lot of people. And when I was younger, you know, I wasn't a great manager. I expected a lot of people. And the typical salesperson, they couldn't live up to those expectations. And I would train people. If they showed up hungry, you know, I help anyone with that attitude. But like if you're not hungry and hustling, you get none of my time and attention. But that's the way it should be really with everyone.
Sure.
You know, I've got 7 kids. If we run around, you know, trying to punish every kid that does the wrong thing, you know, we're constantly punishing kids. So, you know, turn it around and love on the good ones, you know, who are behaving properly. And the others will go, well, I want a hug, I want an ice cream, I want a lollipop. You know, well, when you start acting right, you'll get it. So, but most sales managers, they spend all the time on the turkeys, and then the Eagles are kind of happy about that, but once they feel like they're not being shown any love or affection, they're the ones that get recruited away. You know, but you're right. Those that are like naturals in sales struggle to be managers, and not every salesperson should be a manager. You know, an early mentor of mine, he's still in the game, and I think he's almost 60 now. But he has, you know, just, you know, quote unquote, just been a salesperson his whole life. And he was the #1 salesman in the world for a major, like a Fortune 100 company. That guy is making bank. And, you know, you don't have to climb the corporate ladder.
Sure.
You can go ahead and just be in sales, be in control of your destiny, be in control of your time, make a whole lot of money, and collect the paycheck, have the benefits, get the awards. You know, he's got all kind of watches, all kind of plaques, all kind of free trips. Yeah. And no stress. You know, he's been in the game a long time. And so don't think you have to go into management. And, you know, if you're an owner thinking like who you should hire for management, rarely should you hire your top performing salesperson.
So often, though, we see the companies not just hire them, but promote them, develop them. And, I'll even add to this. I mean, in a lot of the organizations I've been at, and I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of the same, the top salesperson isn't the model of what you want leading a team. They don't do the things that other people ultimately you would want them to do, because they can get away with doing the things and taking shortcuts because of potential talent. I've seen it so often where a company says, you're the top sales guy, naturally you move to that process. And I think both it does a disservice to the company, but it also does a disservice to the rep. And I think that the point that you made there is something that's not talked about a lot, which is every individual, ultimately, I think the biggest challenge that we should strive to be able to answer is, what is our why? What is our goal? What is our motivation? And there's nothing wrong with salespeople who are like, I just want to make a ton of money. And in a lot of cases, almost every corporate organization I worked at, the top sales guy made more than their boss. A lot of times. And so if you're just chasing money there, now I got lucky to identify early in my manager career that I was significantly more fulfilled by the development of other people around me, significantly more fulfilled by the building of team members than I was by my own paycheck. The driving of making money wasn't a major aspect for me, but the scaling of the business, the competitive side, were the things that really, really drove me. And it made me realize that as I hire reps, as I look to develop reps, I want to shift off that manager title and make sure that I'm being identified as a mentor and a coach within my organization. And the number one thing I have to do is to find out what that individual's why is. I would assume you probably look for the same. You had also mentioned earlier, you know the numbers, you know the traits. If you're hiring for a salesperson or you're consulting with an organization on who they should hire, what are you telling them they should look for in an interview process to be able to increase the likelihood of a successful hire?
A lot of what you said. I'm seeing, though, it's hard right now. I've been working with a client, it's a family member, has a family business, and we are 0 for 2 in the last 3 months. One was young, one was older. It's a weird vibe going on right now in the world, at least for small businesses. So you really got to be picky. Now, he's too small to hire multiple people at the same time. If you can, I like you to hire 2 or 3 at
Create that internal competition.
Get the competition. Tell them, look, you're on probation.
Yep.
I'm hiring 2 of you at the end of 90 days. Granted, if you're both superstars, I'll keep you both. But, if one of you's good and one of you isn't, then you're gone. And sounds ruthless, but hey, life is hard, But most companies don't have the structure that they need. So they don't really know what they're hiring for. Nick Saban had a grueling process, right? He was very precise in his systems, how he did things. Now, to his credit, right, because he is the greatest, over time, as college football changed, he changed his approach to the game, so he recruited different people. Saying most people, they don't have systems that they're hiring into. And so they just look for this, this unicorn. They look for this leprechaun, riding a unicorn. They think they're going to have the map to the pot of gold. But Nick Saban had a system, and you knew he had a system, and you knew he was unrelenting in that system. And so when he recruited, he's like, we think you'd be a good fit for our system, but look me in the eye and tell me you're going to follow my system and not try to go showboat. Okay, most companies don't have these systems. They're hiring, must have industry experience, must have this, that, and the other. They're not looking for chemistry. They're not looking to try to build a culture. They're not looking to find someone that they can shape and mold. They want somebody to hit the ground running with a Rolodex, and just bring in all this money. And it's like, it just doesn't happen that way.
And what are you getting on those hires too? I mean, you're getting a mercenary in a sense. Like, that's the way I look at it. I shifted pretty heavily in about 2019, I got given an opportunity to take over an organization, a sales team that I had started off in an entry-level role in. About 8 months in, I got asked to be a regional manager. I was in a regional leadership role for about 2 years before I eventually took over the sales organization. We scaled them from 12 outside sales reps to 60 sales reps through SDRs. And one of the big reasons I had to do that is because I had a bunch of these veteran sales guys that were allergic to picking up the phone and prospecting. They were just so comfortable working their referral business, handling inbound leads, and they would hit their quota. They had a good salary. And I was like beating my head up against, well, we need to grow. We're trying to scale. We're trying to add business. They're like, I'm hitting my quota, boss. I don't have to tell you. Like, what are you going to do about it? So I was like, I went to the owner. I was like, hey, at the end of the day,
You change their pay structure. That's what you do about it.
Yeah. So we did. And I went to the owner and I said, look, at the end of the day, I can be the bad boss here, be the bad guy and force these guys to do these things. I said, or we could change the incentive structure and we can shift their focus more towards closing deals, less on the salary side. And then I can bring in SDRs that can go do the things they don't want to do. And then what I'll do is in the next 6 to 12 months, I bet you I can replace all of them through a built from within growth structure. And that process allowed us to scale drastically. And the whole method I use now for almost every organization is start with SDR. Start with low cost, low experience. I hire based off of traits, not experience. I say, hey, I'm looking for somebody who's young, hungry, coachable, self-aware, and who has thick skin. And if you have those attributes, I'm confident I can develop you in the next 3 months to 6 months to become an effective SDR, scale you into an effective account executive, and within less than 12 months, I'm confident I can have you be in a consistent high producer in a closer role with zero experience walking in the door. And we were able to decrease salary costs by 1/3 with tripling our costs or tripling our staff and more than 5xing our revenue by doing that model. But to your point, and you mentioned this earlier, the only way we were able to do that in that organization is because I was really, really comfortable developing people through a very clear, defined system. And I think most organizations lack the structure, the ability to develop and train. And that's why they hire the experience to just say, hey, I expect you to come in day one and be able to be that. Now, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I heard this, that had this guy is like a serial entrepreneur. He's like created like 50 different companies and made a lot of them very successful. And he said he does this thing, and I'll be interested to see what you think about it. He puts every new hire on a 7-day trial. He's like, I'm going to hire you. I want you to be here, but you have 7 days to prove it. He said, because you will never have an employee try harder and work harder than they will on their first 7 days. And you can see exactly what that person's made of in 7 days. And if they are what they say they are, they'll show you in 7 days. And if they're not, they'll show you in 7 days, and you can make a decision from there. When I heard that, I told my team, I said, for the next week, anybody we bring on, I want you to pitch them the 7-day idea. We haven't brought anybody on since I said that yet, but and we're going to give it a shot. What do you think about that idea?
Sure, as long as they know going in, if they still accept the role.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is everybody is on some kind of probation. I think
Sure.
every state in the union has some kind of, even if it's not a right to work state. I mean, there's some kind of probationary period. So
Right.
yeah, push them, because both of these guys, my cousin. We hired one guy, and unfortunately they're in another state, so I can't meet these guys face to face. And one guy didn't last 3 weeks, but we knew within a week things seemed off. The second guy he hired, he only lasted maybe 2 weeks, and again within a week things felt off. So yeah, that's fine. Push them.
When you're seeing things that are feeling off, do you see a pattern right now in today's landscape, what those offs are? For me, I always look at a successful salesperson. What works and doesn't work is almost always attributed back to their pitch, their pace, and their mindset. And if somebody's going to be good, they're going to have all three of those things. And where they fall short, they're going to fall short on one, if not all of those three things. Is there something you look at in that first week to say the activity level is just not there? They're not asking enough questions. They're just not grasping what we do well enough. I mean, the way they're pitching is not resonating. Is there one thing you look at to kind of really determine that?
Not one thing, but you can tell. You know, they're both of them. The pace was off. These guys are just lying about their activity because this is an outside thing. They got to go door to door in businesses. But just their verbiage too, man. Like I'm a big believer. You know, that words mean things, and small hinges swing big doors. I was catching things, text communications from these guys, phone calls because I was doing training with them. Things they were just saying odd things that just didn't fit that role. And so, you know, pay attention. It's listen to your little voice. You know, your gut is usually right. You know, if you're a business owner or leader and you've been doing this for more than a minute, you know what's up. So don't ignore those little signs. There's gold in them thar hills, right? So pay attention, especially early on, because you're right. These people should be on their best behavior. They should be showing up early. They should be hungry. They should be asking questions. You know, they should be bringing you feedback. Hey, I got stumped on this. How do you handle this? You know, they should have a lot of questions in that first week. So, and if not, you know, and if you need to have some strict requirements as well. You know, enter info into the CRM, ask certain questions. You know, you got to have some structure. And if they're not following that structure from the beginning, then something's wrong. But going back to the Nick Saban thing, you know, when you're interviewing, you need to be able to tell these people.
Correct.
You know, you
got to set the right
o'clock,
expectations
you know,
for it to be delivered.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, you need to be at your desk with your coffee, whatever you do, go to the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. You need to be at your desk, phone in your ear at 8 o'clock.
Yep.
Not rolling in at 8:05, shoot the shit for, you know, 30 minutes about the game, get your coffee and donuts, check Facebook, you know. So you tell them, you're going to show up, you're going to work, you're going to enter info. We use this CRM. Here's the process. Here's the script. Well, here's the cadence. Here's what we expect. You know, can you follow this? You know, but very few have it that structured. You know,
I think
imagine Nick Saban. Yeah, Matt, show up when you can.
Yeah.
Practice. You know, 3 to 5 roughly. Get some reps in. You know, if you're not feeling good, you can leave. Show up late, leave early.
Yeah,
it's okay. Go have a beer. Yeah,
or just. I'm counting on you'll get it done. You'll do what I need you to do. Like,
yeah,
and that's what you see a lot of. They just want to hire and okay, get it done. Yeah, I mean, when I was developing that team I was telling you about, one of the things I had to change because I was running a tight ship. I mentioned one of the attributes I look for is thick skin because I manage tough. I have clear expectations because I've got a firm timeline. I'm trying to make you something in a short period of time. And so I have to be able to coach you tough, hold you accountable, push you in a way. So I had to, because I was actually like pushing people out the door earlier than I wanted to, because I wasn't setting the correct frame up front in hiring. So I had to just reset the frame and say, look, before you accept this position, I will genuinely invest everything I have into making you become everything you want to be in sales. And I've got a really good track record of doing it, but it's not going to be easy. This is not going to be a cakewalk where you work a little bit of hours and you get a big pay. Like, I'm going to expect you to go the extra mile. You're going to be competing against 5 other people in your training class. If you're not ready to do that, don't accept the role because it means I'm going to not bring somebody else in who's willing to do what you're not willing to do. At the end of the day, I've only got so many seats that I can invest my energy into, and I've selected you for that. Now you've got to commit to me that you can fulfill that. If you can't, by all means, no hard feelings. Let's go a separate direction. But when you show up, you need to show up prepared to grind, right? Like going through that boot camp, in a sense, is ultimately what I would tell them. This is going to be tough, but once you get through it, you're going to be set up for success and everything you want to do after this process. Now, one of the things that caught my eye about you is one of the ways you market who you are and what you do is the fact that not only are you a successful entrepreneur and sales coaching and leadership in that capacity, but you also do it as an athlete. talk a little bit about kind of your current athletic ventures and what you do outside of the workplace.
Well, I'm a big believer in scheduling your life first and then let work fill in the gaps. And most people do it backwards. That's why they have no life. I'm doing it for you, honey. I'm doing it for the kids. Well, you're missing everything. Oh, it's just a phase. Really? It's been a decade. How long is this phase going to last? You need to start living. And I think most of us are afraid of that, but we've been lied to. We got to grind, right? Got to live out of balance, and just all this crap you see on the internet. It's unbelievable. So you got to understand who's pitching you these messages. And I've always played sports and always lifted weights and whatever. So I've always been up for a challenge. And it was 9.5 years ago now, but a friend of mine dragged my butt to a jiu-jitsu school, and I got after it. And I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't trying to live my glory days like Al Bundy. I was just sitting here raising kids. I got 7 kids, so my youngest was just 3, and we had all 7 at home, and so we had a lot going on, doing my own business, and I was like, how in the hell am I going to leave for 2 hours the middle of the day?
Yeah.
To go train? Like, what are you talking about? Because I was a morning lifting guy, and but I'd been lifting this exact same routine since I was probably 14 years old. And at the time, I was 46, almost 47. I was kind of bored with it, and I had done some things. I would do these open water swims for the Navy SEAL Foundation, and swim across Tampa Bay, 3.5 miles. So, I'm accustomed to training and doing hard stuff, but jiu-jitsu is just next level.
Yeah.
Once you try it, you get hooked because
it's bad.
It's weird to know that there are humans walking around that can hold you down single-handedly, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. So I did not like knowing that was possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. My experiences, I wrestled in high school, and I wrestled most of my youth life. And, like I said, I played sports my whole life, and I found myself, just not chasing that competitive side of me for a lot of my, my adulthood. Now I'm 42 now, but it was like probably around 30, I got into jiu-jitsu. I did jiu-jitsu for about 3 years. I probably have become that guy that you said, like, you shouldn't be, where I don't do those things now because I've got a small window of time. I've got a lot of traction. I'm chasing the opportunity to ultimately see the light at the end of the tunnel. But look, you and I both know the light at the end of the tunnel has got to be created by me. It's not just given to me. So did you have that philosophy before you were successful, or was it already successful, already comfortable financially, and then had that shift in mindset? Because I would imagine for most people who haven't found and seen success yet, it would be difficult to make that decision of putting your life first before the fun. If that I don't know, fun, if that would, you would equate it, but putting life before work, if they haven't yet felt like they've accomplished what they need to accomplish. Where were you at in life when you came to that decision?
It took a minute. I remember it was 2004 because I'd read a book by Jeffrey Gitomer, and the CEO I was working for bought us his little red book of selling. I remember he talked about something like that, but it was more along the lines of, stop being at the beck and call of your prospects. And that was a big shift for me. Learning how to take control of the sales cycle and the sales process. And after my first year in sales, back in 98, 99, my first full year with a company after leaving the Air Force, I made exactly $100,000. And I made at least that really ever since. And usually a lot more. But 1998, I was 38 years old. We just had 98. Yeah, so we had two. I got to think back all the kids. We had two, but two under two, right? My boys are less than a year apart. Then we had three under three. My daughter was less than 2 years after my second son. But so 1998, 99. I'm 28, 29 years old, making $100,000, living in Mobile, Alabama. $100,000.
Yeah.
And is about 170, 180 today.
Yeah.
Even in California, 180 is good money, certainly for a 28-year-old. Okay, and so I didn't understand how to define success because, when you're young, you're susceptible, and even now, even older people are still susceptible. Some people never wake up. But the stuff you see on the news and on the internet and social media is rarely the truth.
Yeah.
It's only true for the person saying it because they've got an agenda, and so they want to keep you hungry. They want to keep you comparing yourself to others. They want you to keep you dissatisfied. And so you keep seeking, you keep grinding, you keep buying. It's the old story. Most people wake up, in a house they don't own, hop in a car they don't own, to drive to a job they don't like, doing things they don't enjoy, with people they don't like, to pay for more things to impress people, to buy things they don't need, to impress people they don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, get off of that wagon. How do you define success? I intentionally turned down, like I'm working with a guy right now he's on the road. He's in 4 to 5 cities every week, leaving his kids and family behind that he says he loves. And, and I know he does, but like, why did you structure your business that way? So I intentionally turned things down. I coached my boys in basketball and flag football and coached my daughters in soccer and volleyball. And, I did it on purpose. I turned things down. And I work from home, man. So, I'm working from home with 7 kids and a dog. You can do it. Now I got grandkids coming over.
Yeah.
So you can structure your life any way you want to. And so, I didn't let clients and prospects dominate my time in my life. And then, but, at least 9 years ago, right, I said, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the middle of the day off. And I've been doing that ever since. But even before then, I was training for my swims, and I made, that was a priority. So training for that, hitting the gym, doing that. And then, my wife would give me the schedule for the kids, plays, sports. I coached Little League, coached flag football, so, I didn't just show up late, stay on my phone, cheer when my kids at bat, and then, then leave. I was coaching. So, I've been doing that for a long time, man.
It's interesting.
Things were easy.
As you go through it, I realize that there's a lot more of it that I've already made these similar jumps. I had outside sales jobs in the past. I haven't had one since 2017. I've worked from home. Now, I've got a 5-year-old daughter and I've got a 2-year-old son. So I'm much earlier in the parenthood capacity, but I still have been offered very well-paying opportunities that require me to go to an office every day. And I say, no, I want to prioritize taking my daughter to school every morning. That means more than me than the amount of money that you can pay. If you're unwilling to work around that, then it's not worth it. I've worked from the house exclusively since 2017, and I will not take a traveling job that requires me to travel more than once a quarter. It's not worth it. I don't like it. First of all, even though I didn't have kids, I didn't like that lifestyle. But now, wife and kids, and, there's the responsibility. I would say the biggest challenge I have, Wes, is I enjoy doing what I do. I enjoy building my business. I enjoy working with my team. I enjoy doing the company that I have. And that's the challenge, is it's a hobby for me. And so sometimes I've gotten better at kind of taking off on the weekends and to be able to just be with the family. But that would say is my biggest challenge, which is being competitive with my own goals. And I do not suffer from the same affliction a lot of people have, where I don't care about how, look, I drive an F-150 I bought in 2018, and I'm not worried about buying a new one. Like, as long as it's driving, I'm good to go. I don't care about that. We've got a nice house in a nice area. I'm not worried about the Joneses when it comes to trying to keep up with them. They can do their own thing. But I would say my biggest affliction is just chasing my own full potential of who I am in the business I'm building. But I know I think I could probably unlock more potential the more I invest in myself. So, I mean, every day I wake up at 6 a.m. and I hit the gym like you said you did for many years since you were 14. But I haven't done the nighttime stuff. I haven't done the jiu-jitsu stuff. I haven't done those things. Now, here's the big challenge that's coming up. My daughter's last week of school is this week. She's 5 years old, and she cannot sit in this house all day long or during the summer. So I was telling my wife, we went to dinner last night, I was like, we got to come up with a very, very strong agenda of things for her to be doing, activities, and I need to play my part in that process this summer. So it'll be a challenge, but that's probably one of the biggest challenges. Any advice for me on that as you hear me kind of go through what I'm saying?
Be nice to your wife.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's one thing that, and I don't talk about this enough. I tell her as much as I can, but I'm everything that I am because of her. I mean, like, she believed in me way more than I believed in myself, especially early in our process. We've been married for about 15 years now, and when we met, I was nobody. I was a nothing. I had nothing to my name, and she believed in me way more than I did. She convinced me to leave Virginia, which I would have probably been in Virginia my whole life. She convinced me to go chase opportunities that I would have been too scared to chase, just all because she believed in my potential. And so, I mean, I have no bigger cheerleader than her standing by me saying, you do what you've got to do to provide for us. And so I'm good there. That's not a concern for me. Sometimes she's like, hey, just keep working. Just keep yourself busy.
Well, kids need to play out in the dirt more often.
Yeah.
I love my daughter is so good with this. She's got two little ones, and constantly showing pictures, and they come to the house. We got a play set, and they're outside. They're literally in the mud, and he's done a great job of keeping them off of electronics too much. And she brings them into the kitchen, helps her cook, and let kids take some risks. This helicopter parenting.
It's alarming when we travel with our kids. We were in the airport the other day, traveling back from. We went to Mexico, Cancun, for a little vacation, and we let our 2-year-old. We let him just keep our eye on him, but we let him go ahead. Like, just go ahead, have some confidence, get out there, and there will be so many people that will stop and be like looking around and worried, like, whose kid is this? And I'm like, I got it. I'm watching. I'm like, this is my parenting style. Let him be comfortable. Like, I'm watching him. Nothing's going to happen. But yeah, you'd be surprised how many people get so nervous if you let your kid get 5 feet away from them in a group setting.
Well, and you got to call their bluff sometimes too. They'll just sit down. They'll just pop a squat, right? And like, I'm out of here, buddy. And walk around the corner.
Yeah.
The grocery store or something. And you gotta remind them who's in charge. It's hard, but I've had no problem with tough love, and my wife's pretty good too, but she is she definitely takes care of them. My son has had some health issues, and she's been spending the night over there, and even at 28, he wants his mommy, but she'll bust your butt too. So, make your kids. There was a saying, I forget who said it, but I'm drawing a blank now. Do not deprive your children of deprivation.
I agree completely. I mean, like almost every great person I know in my life did not have like this like cushy little childhood. They had some sort of struggle, something to overcome and adapt. And, I have the ability to provide a very soft, easy life for my kids. But I'm actively want to make sure that I try to, create struggle and create a lack of softness, and allow them to understand how to grow and adapt as much as possible, because I think that's what creates better grown-ups. Maybe less happy kids, but much happier grown-ups in a sense. And I think our job as parents is...
Yeah, they'd complain, why do we have to mow the lawn? None of our friends have chores. I said, well, one day your friends will work for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Shut your mouth and go mow the lawn.
Yeah.
I'm not having this discussion every day.
Exactly. So last topic I want to talk with you about, which is, it's obviously kind of on the forefront of most people's minds. And with what you do in your business, where do you anticipate AI playing a role in how you coach, manage, train, and develop salespeople today versus what you think will be different 5 years from now? If we just factor in the coaching and management and developing of people, where AI comes into play in that process.
Yeah, it's a big topic. I mean, I got AI open right now making a website for me. I've got a tech guy. Like, I've kind of evolved away. 2012, I wrote this big book. The definitive guide to Infusionsoft. I've been knee deep in CRMs and marketing automation since 2007. Mm-hmm. I've put food on the table for a family of 9 by selling CRMs in these tools. And what AI can do is 1,000 times more powerful than email marketing, a CRM update. But conversely, I mean, people that aren't in the space, I mean, even though CRMs have been mainstream for decades, a lot of businesses still don't have them. They're set up incorrectly. They're used improperly. Hell, the iPhone has been out for 19 years. Came out in 2007.
Wow.
Okay. Most people still can't set the widgets, on the home screen.
Yeah.
And it's in their hand. It's been in their hand nonstop for 19 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So just because AI is powerful doesn't mean people are going to know how to use it. Okay. But those that do are going to be super powerful. But if you're selling AI, you've got to realize, the old adage is still true that we must meet people where they are. Okay, we have to adjust how we sell to match how the prospect buys. Just because it's cool and new and exciting and powerful doesn't mean the prospect knows it, wants it, ready, willing, able to buy it. You see all the time in classroom settings and in an auditorium or speaker, are there any questions? Oh, no questions? Okay. One guy raises his hand. Well, it's probably a fundamental question, blah, blah, blah. And they'll ask it. And then somebody later go, man, I'm glad you asked that question. I was too embarrassed to ask that, but I had the same question. And so I think we're already at that point with AI. It's so ubiquitous by the early dudes, the gurus, the internet bros. Everybody feels dumb, like, I don't want to ask about it because it seems like I'm the last one to know about it. It's like, dude, it is so early. I was at a mastermind 2 weeks ago in Nashville, specifically on AI. And, talking with the guys about this, I said, look, dude, this is about 1998 when it comes to AI, as comparing it to web design. 1998, you had to spend probably 10 grand to get a static HTML hand-built, with Adobe Dreamweaver website. And so, well, that's a waste of money and waste of time. Really? I didn't have my own website for the Sales Whisperer. I didn't have a website until 2009, and it was a 5-page Adobe built, hand-coded, hard-coded HTML static website that I couldn't update or change. So if you had spent 10 grand in 1998, so that'd be about 18 grand a day.
Yeah.
But you were 10 years ahead of your competition. So it cost you what? $1,800 a year to be ahead of your competition for a decade. Would that have been worth it?
Yeah.
That's where we are with AI. So, but just like Infusionsoft, HubSpot, everybody I ever sold it to, I told them, it's not in your best interest to become an expert at this stuff, but you do need to be conversant in it. You need to understand its powers, its strengths, its limitations. You need to understand what it takes to set it up and to run it. So at a minimum, not snowed. You're not lied to, right? Because consultants will come out there and say, "Oh yeah, this is a 1 month project, $15,000, and it's a 2 day project, like $1,500." So you need to understand it. But with AI, it's hard to stay on top of it. It is changing so fast.
So quick. Yeah.
There's literally every day something new is coming out, and now China's blocking the acquisition of Manus by Facebook, and you've got these, you've got AI, and you've got agentic builders, and you got entire app builders, and you've got APIs, and now there's CLIs, and there's LLMs, and there's MCPs, and you're like, what do I do? What do I do? It's like
so much. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's here to stay.
A lot of the conversation. So I come from the automotive industry, and a lot of the conversations we have in the automotive industry is like, will AI replace salespeople? And I think that it's just generally inevitable that it replaces salespeople in a sense. I believe there's parts of AI that can replace certain types of salespeople today. I think that when you're in a face-to-face, high volume, high dollar transactional sale, like selling a vehicle, those will happen slower than others in regards to selling. But I think ultimately, it's going to be more on the consumer's digestibility of the confidence and trust they have in using the AI to do it. That's where I think. But I would also tell you, if let's just say we're 5 years away from salespeople being replaced by AI halfway, we have 5 years of being able to use AI to make us better salespeople. And I think that's one of the things that I just don't see enough people talking about. We created, for our own business, just based off of a need, we created a call grading platform and a coaching platform that allowed me to take my 10 plus years of sales development and training. Every single one of my calls that are being made by myself and or my clients are automatically ingested into this call grading platform, and I get real-time grading, numerical grading, breakdown, coaching on every single call immediately. And so whether it's a cold call through that an SDR is making, whether it's an account executive that's making a long form sales presentation, every single customer interaction is brought into my platform, graded, immediate feedback is provided, complete manager oversight, database views of who's good here, who's what, creates one-on-one talking points, product discussions, everything you would need. Like I was listening to every single call on my company, and I can't listen to every call on my company, but I've got AI listening to every call, and I've ingested my sales philosophy into it to be able to listen to it as me and provide the immediate feedback to my reps like me in a one-to-one capacity. And everybody I show this to, they're like, oh my God, if I add this in my business. And it's like, it's available to you. Like, I can sell you mine, but learn it. I'm no rocket scientist. I'm no hardcore. I mean, we brought in a team of developers, and I had an idea and we built it. But I think that we've got 5 years of using AI to make us significantly better sellers. And eventually I think that we get replaced by AI, but we'll be replaced in a new place in that time. Do you see that similar timeline, or are you a little bit more long-term on the timeline?
I'm not even guessing, man. I'm just using it to grow.
Yeah.
It's such a game changer. I'm testing ideas. I'm building landing pages. I'm embedding web forms and testing tools that I would never have done because it would have had to hire somebody just to experiment with something. Like it's not worth my time and money, for some of these things. But AI, I can just do it. Go to jiu-jitsu, I come back, it's built.
Yeah.
And I can test it. But it's still, that in and of itself creates a problem, right? These tools can create more analysis, more recommendations than you can consume.
Sure.
So how are you going to process all of it? And it's technology always is. And I forget who it was, Socrates or Plato. Like he bemoaned, writing. He said it's going to make people's memories lessen.
Sure.
You got to sharpen your memory. Like, remember everything you ever hear. Like, don't write it down. Like, okay, what? And the loom, right? Was going to put seamstresses out of business. Like, okay, did that work out that way?
Right. Right.
The internet and desktop publishing was supposed to put publishers out of work. Email was supposed to put the postal service out of business. Like, none of those things have happened. People have to eat. They're going to need jobs. So, the role of the person, of their salesperson, is just going to change. But I coined the phrase recently that I think humanity is the next killer app. People are already rebelling against AI. I've seen things where people go to events and they have to put their phone like in a lockbox.
Sure.
And it's like you got to be present. And I think live events are coming back. Like, I went out to Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and it was the first event like that I've been to in years, and it was awesome. Hanging out with 20 entrepreneurs, salespeople, business owners, learning hands-on in real time, getting real-time feedback from other humans. Because you can sit at home alone, and you have this little digital dudette spitting out information. If you're doing it alone, I mean, you could be a psychopath, you could be some super driven dude, but everybody else, kind of in the middle, like, it's kind of lonely.
Yeah.
I hired a local guy, a super technical guy, former Air Force, and we're having fun. We're bouncing ideas off each other. I got this 12-foot whiteboard right here. This thing, we fill this thing up every day. We take a picture of it, wipe it clean, and we're feeding off of one another. Because when two or more are gathered, right? The African proverb is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we're tribal social creatures. So AI is going to help. It's going to help people vet ideas, test things, But I tell everybody, at the end of the day, there's a human on the other end of the screen.
Yeah.
That you have to convince. And others are arguing, no, I'm going to use AI to write, and the AI is going to analyze it, and they'll make the purchase. Like, okay,
you have to be careful with AI, and I want you, if you haven't seen this video, and I don't know if you watch TikTok, have TikTok, a lot of people do, a lot of people don't. Okay, but there's a video I was watching the other day where this guy says to his ChatGPT, "Hey, I'm gonna go run a mile. Can you time me?" And it said, "Yeah, I got you." And he goes, "Okay, here I go." And he never left the screen. And he came, said, "Okay, I'm back." 7 seconds later, he said, "How did I do?" He said, "You did great." He said, "What was my time?" "You clocked in at 10 minutes and 7 seconds. And then I saw a video of a person interviewing Sam Altman, the creator of ChatGPT, and he said, "Have you seen this?" And he said, "Yeah, it's a known issue. We can't do time. We're probably still 12 months out a bit of it being able to do time." And so then another video of the guy says, "Watch this video of your creator, Sam Altman, talking about you," to the same ChatGPT about the video that he created. And it wouldn't admit it can't do it. It wouldn't admit. And this guy now has a whole series of him asking questions of ChatGPT that they won't give him the right answer. And I've shut down my ChatGPT Pro service because it won't tell me I'm not great. It won't give me devil's advocate very well. It will say, "Your idea is great. That's the exact way you should go with that idea." And you really have to be careful how you prompt and use it, or it can lead you down a really, really bad path. And that's something that a lot of people, I would say most people, haven't interacted and played with it well enough to even understand how it's designed to keep you in the tool and to keep you engaged with it. So it's designed to continue to agree with you, to make you feel good about yourself. And that's the current iteration. I'm sure it'll get better over time. Have you seen that video, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. I've taken enough of your time. I appreciate the fact that you've given it to us today. For anybody who wants to get in touch with you, obviously I found you on LinkedIn. You put some content on there. What's the best way somebody can get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm easy to find on all the socials, but Fixer Wes, fixerwest.com. working on a new website with AI. So, I'm consolidating my brands. I'm tightening things up, doing some spin-offs, and AI is helping me do that. But,
awesome.
Go there, and from there, you can get my daily newsletter. And I'm working on a new group training program, and all my socials are there. And if you reach out, you get me. You don't get AI, you get a human.
No automated responder, right? You also have a podcast too, so people can hear you on that. You said you've had over 800 episodes.
Yes. So, I've had a few 726 episodes of the Sales Podcast, and 30-something of the BJJ and Biz podcast, and about 60 on the CRM Sushi podcast.
Nice. All right, well, perfect. Well, I appreciate you jumping on. Everybody who's watching, obviously, like, subscribe, share, jump in and engage with Wes's content. Go listen to all of those podcasts. Challenge you guys, listen to every single one of them that he's recorded. That's the challenge for everybody. And until next time, guys, we'll talk soon.